And it takes you doing certain things well to either grow a business or grow your personal brand. People don't grow businesses by accident. People don't grow personal brands by accident. Hey guys, I'm Tonya and welcome back to my YouTube channel where I talk about all things entrepreneurship, parenthood, and living a joy-aligned life. This question actually comes from someone on Instagram because if you don't follow me on Instagram, please do over at tonya.rapley. I posed a question to my audience, just ask me anything. And I had so many amazing questions. I wasn't able to get through to all of them, so I actually saved this one. And that question is, how do I separate myself from my business and brand while still having an active voice? I feel like she asked me that because I have successfully built a brand with MyFab Finance. Our social community combined has over 225,000 community members. And then I have been actively building my personal brand at Tonya.Rapley. And I do have a website now, TonyaRapley.com and so forth. And I've been very intentional about creating a personal brand. So basically she wanted to know, how does she make sure that she still has an active voice even if she does create separation between her business and brand? I knew I wanted to create a personal brand a couple of years into operating MyFab Finance because when MyFab Finance first started, I was the one managing the social media channel. I was the one creating all of the content for it, and that's really all I had time for. And then I was able to onboard other people. It was around the time that I got pregnant that my assistant was like, so sis, you're not going to keep doing this. There's no way you can manage this social media by yourself. Go ahead and give me the keys, give it to me. And so I ended up handing it over to her, and it was one of the best things that I ever did. I did go ahead and lock in the Tonya Rapley Instagram, IG name, and so forth. So I had it there, but I kind of dabbled around in it. But as I was operating MyFab Finance and navigating brand deals and so forth and starting to leverage my social presence, I realized that there were certain opportunities that I could not pursue because my brand was seen as a financial awareness brand, AKA the brandsman. I was teaching people to be cheap and my audience didn't spend money. I knew that wasn't the case, but that's what they felt like. We were about frugality and not about spending money. This particularly came to mind when I applied to go to a certain amusement park and they said, actually, no. Basically, you're gonna get to our park and not spend any money, and you're gonna send people to our park who aren't gonna send money. We're not gonna do you any favors. And I didn't start my personal brand specifically for that, but it made me realize, hey, okay, you're fabulous outside of MyFab Finance. You're fabulous in MyFab Finance, but you're fabulous outside of that. You're growing, opportunities are growing, and you're in a different place. And so it really became important for me to set that personal brand up. I want to get into just the things that you could consider when it comes to building your personal brand and building a business and deciding to separate those. There are pros, there are cons. And so one of the benefits of building a personal brand while having your business brand, it broadens your opportunities. As I said, there are certain brand opportunities that I can do on TonyaRapley.com or Tonya Rapley that I can't do on MyFab Finance because it's different audiences. Tonya Rapley is all about my family and entrepreneurship and business, where MyFab Finance is about becoming financially free so you can do more of what you love. So that means sometimes sacrificing buying things. That means just really focusing on your finances first, whereas my personal brand isn't necessarily just about that. It's about growing businesses, but also having a balanced family life and so forth. The next is it allows you to create a business that can stand without you. One of the things about MyFab Finance that I realized early on, or realized down the line that I was doing, was that I was the face of MyFab Finance. People start MyFab Finance and they were thinking of my face. I understand the constraints of that, especially if you're looking at selling a business or if you're looking at scaling a business. I could bring in a coach or so forth to do a coaching class for MyFab Finance. They'd be like, hold up, who's this? Who this woman? Because they become so used to me being the face of that brand, and being the face of a brand is not necessarily the easiest thing to scale without significant capital and resources behind you to help navigate what that looks like. Jessica Alba has the Honest Company. It's not Jessica Alba products. It is the Honest Company, and she can sell that because she has a brand outside of a business. And that's why it's important. It does allow you to create opportunities and allows that business to stand on its own outside of you. One of the disadvantages, though, is time. It takes time to do both. And I'm going to dig into that, like different things you can do, but it takes time and it can be extremely time consuming to try to do both at a time. And so time is not necessarily on your side, or you really have to figure out how to maximize your time if you're going to build a business while trying to build your personal brand. So you know what, let's get into those tips. So here are the tips if you're like, okay, cool, sis, let's do this. So here are the tips. The first one is don't try to do both. Sorry. It is. Don't try to do both. Do not try to build a business and build your personal brand at the same time. Something is going to suffer. I know you're like, nah, I'm good at multitasking and whatever it may be, but no, something's going to suffer. And like, it might be the money. And I don't know about you, but I don't go into business not to make money. So it might be the money that suffers in trying to do both, because when you're trying to do too much, you don't really do anything well. So you really want to make sure that you're not trying to do both. The second thing is be clear about what both are. Be clear about the distinctions. As I mentioned, My Fab Finance is a financial education business that is focused on helping people become financially free so they can do more of what they love. I've been saying that for a while. And then the Tonya Rapley brand is about all things motherhood and entrepreneurship. Kind of similar, but not similar. Like, yes, people who are concerned about their finances have children, they have businesses, but it takes a different type of focus to say I'm really focusing on, parenting, or I'm really focused on entrepreneurship versus I'm just focusing on my financial journey. So there are two very clear paths, and you want to have clear paths. Like, yes, you may be your ideal client for your business, but that doesn't mean they can't have two separate reasons. If they're all the same, then ain't no point in separating them. If there are differentiators, then definitely make sure that you're creating those different lanes and being clear on those paths. The third thing is that understanding both require consistency. As I said, building a business requires consistency. Building a personal brand requires consistency. My personal brand has required work, like getting to the point where I think we're like 36,000 followers, and like I want to grow, but we are in a place where we're doing brand partnerships. We are bringing in money in the personal brand and so forth. Now we have a YouTube channel. Hey, we have a YouTube channel, but it requires work. It does require time, and this is time that if My Fab Finance wasn't where it is, it would be taken away from growing My Fab Finance. Let's be honest, it does take away from My Fab Finance, but I've had that business for so long that I have systems in place and it runs on itself. That business brings in revenue that allows me to pay for a team that also makes sure that that business is operating, so I can go do other things. So I can go do the Tonya Rapley brand, so I can go do Club Loofah. But I wouldn't have tried to do them both at the same time. It's just, it's very challenging, and one's gonna suffer. Both of them require consistency. So it's not that building a personal brand is easier. It's not that building a business is easier. It requires consistency. And if you're struggling with consistency, I do suggest that you pause, or after this, watch my video on how to be successful, aka how to overcome self-sabotage or procrastinating, because that might be something that is affecting your ability to show up consistently for either one of your businesses. And while we're on that, talking about number 4, when I say showing up for each of your businesses, keyword businesses, plural, because both of them are businesses. Your personal brand is also a business, so it's important to treat your personal brand like a business. Your personal brand, it can be a hobby if you want it to be a hobby. Yeah, some hobbies make money. It can be that, but if you're going all in, then you have to treat it like a business. And what I mean treating like a business, learn as much as you can about building a personal brand. Invest in the tools and resources that you need to build that personal brand. Determine, create a plan for that personal brand. What would you like to be doing by XYZ? I say that I had secured the Tonya Rapley IG handle, and I purchased TonyaRapley.com. That was before I was actually ready to treat it like a business. But once I was ready to treat it like a business, I had those things in place, and I started to invest in assets that allowed me to treat it like a business. For me, I knew I was going to get pregnant. I knew that me and my husband had plans to grow our family, and that was part of my vision. Say what you may, but I was like, I'm gonna monetize the hell out of this pregnancy. Say what you may, but there's an opportunity to make money and do certain things, and I had an absolutely amazing, positive, peaceful pregnancy. But I also knew that there were opportunities to be made. I wasn't gonna have to pay for my stroller. I wasn't gonna have to pay for certain things for my son. I didn't wanna pay for my breast pump. There were certain things that I knew that treating my brand as a business would allow me to do. And so I made sure that I started treating my brand like a business before I needed it to act like a business. And that's what's also important. Treat it like a business before it even acts like a business. And that's enough on that. Let's go to the last point. The last point is to separate things. Okay, so if you're deciding you want to have a separate business and a personal brand, then separate things. It can get a little pricey sometimes by keeping and operating separate things, but separate them. So for a long time, I was doing business for Tonya Rapley brand at my MyFab Finance email. And things got kind of confusing. Like I would be like, is this for Tonya Rapley? Is this for MyFab Finance? And I realized like, Tonya, you need to separate these. So now I have a separate Tonya Rapley inbox and I have a certain MyFab Finance inbox. So there's no question when a brand reaches out to me, which platform they're interested in advertising on. My Tonya Rapley email is in my Tonya Rapley IG bio. The MyFab Finance information is over there and on the MyFab Finance site. So I created separate emails, separate websites. So they do link to each other, but they are separate. So they have different SEO. SEO is really important, especially if you're trying to stand out in your niche. They have different SEO. When you go to TonyaRapley.com, or if you land on it, most likely you're looking for a Black millennial entrepreneur or a Black mompreneur. When you go to MyFab Finance, you're looking for a Black female financial educator or a millennial financial educator. They have different reasons that people would pop up on them, and it allows me to treat those separately and to bring in separate audiences. And then separate social accounts. Y'all. And I did this initially, and I have seen people do this, where they start their personal brand on their business brand. And that's understandable. My first Instagram name was Rap is Delight, because my last name is Rapley. Rappers Delight, Rap is Delight. I think it's clever. So it was Rap is Delight. Then it became MyFab FICO when I decided to embark on my financial journey. Then it became MyFab Finance. So I was operating my personal IG through MyFab Finance's IG. And that meant that I was like sharing pictures from like when family was in town and so forth. Then I would have to find a way to make it have a financial angle and so forth. And I just was like, I'd rather just have my separate personal account where I can share my shenanigans, where I can share my trips with my friends, where I can share my outfit that I wore out to the party last night because I was cute, where I can share my hairstyles and whatever I want, and I don't have to worry about it being relevant to the MyFab Finance audience. And it's important to think about that if you are going to try to run a personal brand through a business brand. You always have to ask yourself, is this relevant to my audience? Because one of the quickest ways to lose followers is to offer content that is not relevant to the audience. So you always have to ask yourself, is this relevant to the people that follow me? And if it doesn't, and you're running your personal through your business, don't post it. It's time for you to create a personal brand or save that for Facebook or wherever else you might have a personal presence. But I see it a lot where entrepreneurs treat their business platform as their personal platform. And if you make cakes, I don't care that it was your boyfriend's birthday unless you made a cake for him. Your personal shenanigans and ongoings don't have anything to do with your business when it comes to having a business. And so be mindful of that when you are operating and growing your personal brand through your business. It still needs to be related. I hope that was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you comment below, because engagement is the name of the game. Please make sure that you subscribe to my channel and like this video and watch what else I have to offer. I promise you there are more great videos to come. Thank you so much for watching this. Be passionate, be profitable. I'll see you guys next time.